these words are being used too often. So recovers, recover, recovery. And I think recovers.org is now in my,
there it is.
Let's see what we get when we go to this. Okay, so here we go. And this is a screen you might come to. It tells you help your community recover from disasters. Recovers is provided by supporting resilient communities. That's the nonprofit that's behind this.
Okay.
And I'm working with them. And their URL is srcinternational.org, which should be prominently, let's just try clicking on this. If it takes us, yeah, that takes you to srcinternational.org. So that'll tell you about the organization. So it's a little confusing, the different names. The sky is crowded right now. The cyberspace is crowded. I'm going to go back to recovers. Okay. If I go too fast, tell me. All right. Benefits are why you should use it, about us. I haven't even looked at. Find your community. Let's click on that. I don't want to sign in right away because I want you to see the public side first.
Mm-hmm.
So find your community. Let's look for find communities. Mm-hmm. And I just clicked on find your community to get here. So they use Esri a lot. Sometimes I'm happy with it, sometimes I'm not. And then this list over on the left, this column shows you that there are a lot of people who have opened subdomains.
And that's what Santa Rosa is, Sonoma County.
Sonoma County. Okay, here's one, campfirebutte.recovers.org. I run that one as well.
Wow.
So we could look at either one. But I'm just curious, I spend more, because I live in Sonoma County, I spend more time there.
So when I searched for Sonoma County, it came up Santa Rosa.
All right, let me see. That's the town that it's in. The other caveat I have to tell you is this is recovers.org 1.0.
Mm-hmm.
It was written in a hurry. It was written 9 years ago. And it needs to be rewritten. So we are currently trying to do the fundraising to rewrite it. And there are two things that we want to do. We want to raise money. Here, you don't want to look at my chest. Oh, you can't see me anymore. We need to have a small revenue stream to keep the existing platform up and functional. And we need to have a major chunk of money to rewrite the whole platform.
Yeah, I bet.
9 years of experience, there's lots and lots that we want to change. So as we come in, as we talk, I will keep pointing out, oh God, that's got to change. But we need to work with what we have right now. So I scrolled down and I came to sonomacounty.recovers.org, and it says Santa Rosa because it's
yeah, that's the pin on the Esri map.
Right. Which is, of course, another confusing thing unless you're a pretty sophisticated user. So I'm going to click on sonomacounty.recovers.org. And now you can see the public face. So my spiel is there are 5 key places to go. If we're not signed in right now, we just surfed over and we click on I have a need, or I want to give, or I want to volunteer, or find resources, or we scroll down this side and look for the information that's available. Mm-hmm. And as you scroll down, the informational websites, housing resources, cash aid, and all of that this column is editable by the administrators. Resources for senior citizens, documents, pictures. Mm-hmm. Get Ready doesn't function very well yet. But now that we're bifurcated into 2 phases, one of them is pre-disaster preparedness and the other is long-term recovery in Sonoma County. So if there were 6 of me, we would work on the Get Ready section. Then you go down a little further down this column and you see the organizers. These are the agencies that signed up to be the backbone of this subdomain.
That's great.
It's
Did you know
great.
they signed up, Gerry? That Human Services signed up?
Sorry, say it again.
What was the question?
I just wondered, Gerry, if you knew that that Human Services had been participating in this portal.
I don't know if they did this portal. There's the city county portal is the primary one that they tend to advertise.
Okay. And then Liza, I had another question too, just on this page, or even dropping down a level. Is there like a feed for the public, you know, like up to minute news kind of thing like Slack would do, but without the channel?
That's
Right.
what community updates should be.
Got it.
And that's available without signing in.
Uh-huh.
So,
Cool.
okay. So the thing about the feed is, and Gerry, you just hit on a major problem. Everybody wants to be the central place. My website is what you should go to for your central major information. Their website is ancillary. Now, if everybody says that, there's no central.
Mhm.
And that's something that we have to really work on. So while all of these agencies signed up and said they wanted to be part of this, 3/4 of them, what they really wanted to do was use us as a billboard.
Yep. I I can see why.
Okay. They did not really want to participate. They didn't understand.
Yeah.
And while we can see why, this is a global problem. It's not just Sonoma County. It's not just the states. It's everywhere. That all of these organizations are egocentric. And, well, maybe not all of them, but there are too many egocentric, and our ability to collaborate and centralize is inadequate for the resources that we have. Anyway, that's
Well,
you'll
and
hear me say
Liza,
that 50 times.
when you're able to come to the consultants network, this is a major concern of the people at that meeting, which is we don't have a clear convening backbone in this county.
Well, and
it's a kind of a culture thing.
Yep, exactly. And it partly it comes from distrust of government, because government wants to be that convening body, but doesn't recognize. Again, you're getting my philosophy here, and
Yeah.
don't let me go too. I want to actually get through the demo, so don't let me
Yeah, that's fine.
get too philosophical. But
Notice how tight my lips are. We'll go through the demo.
The sort of philosophical things that people inside agencies don't acknowledge as much as I think would be healthy for us to acknowledge is that the resources are really in the community, in civic society. They are not in the people that collect the taxes. They are the taxes.
Yeah.
So government thinks they're leading, and the people that end up working for the government think that they should lead. And the people who have what's technically called a low perception of self-efficacy think the government is going to help them, and they forget that they are the government. Anyway, enough philosophy. I'll go back to that over and over again because I think it's important. So we're the public. We've stumbled on this site, or somebody said, "Oh, go talk to them," or you need something, go post on the local recovers.org. When we have more time, I'll tell you the story of how I stumbled on this. So you look at it, you say, "Oh, gee, I represent a local organization." If that's how you get on this left-hand column, is through that button. I think the whole interface should be redesigned, but then don't we all? So if I were just coming to this, or maybe you guys can tell me what your response is to this, what would you do first?
Well, Gerry, you had a house burned down. What would you do first?
It would have been, I have a need, but knowing me, I go to find resources.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's do find resources first.
You know what, Liza, what my first step would have wanted to be was at the top of that page, a brief couple sentences about the purpose of the site.
Okay, and if we're recording, we are capturing this.
Yeah, and I see you are recording. I see the little button over on the chat side, or the attendee side is, it looks like it's recording. So just, you know, to your point about nonprofit agencies not really understanding the scope, and it was all in a hurry, and all they wanted to do was, as you know, like a feeder to their own site. If I were like a user, I would, you know, like a little welcome message at the top would say, welcome here, you're on this site because here's 3 ways to use it, or just something simple like that.
Okay, look at the caption under the top picture, the picture of the pink kite.
Yeah, yeah, it's not real poppy on the Zoom,
Exactly.
you know.
It's not real poppy when you first see the site, but
Yeah,
that's the sentence. And if I go to, well, I don't want to distract myself.
Yeah.
I gave it a longer title on the other site, and it's a little better, but these are the kinds of things that we need to do user trials. So many people design from their own perspective instead of from their end user perspective.
right. Yeah.
I've been doing quality. My first job out of college was quality control technician. And I'm using what I learned in that job for quality control for user experience stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to find resources, because I think that's where a lot of savvy people will want to go first. And we go to find resources, and actually, one of the problems, which may have been fixed, is, yeah, if you happen to be on the map, you get you can't scroll. You have to scroll this screen outside the map, and sometimes the maps are really big when it first shows up, and that's hard for people who aren't savvy users. So the map shows you the resources that people have posted. Now, becoming an organization does not automatically make you a resource. Oops. But I've coached a lot of the people, so Church of the Incarnation did post that they are a resource, but they didn't give any details. So how helpful is that? Loop Center is me, and I know how to use this, so I said what our resources are and what we need. And then, and it ended up, I did it twice. And this gives my emails. It's hard to find on this site where the email is if you want to get in touch with somebody. Anyway, what happens right now with this site is that every time a new community, local subdomain is opened, they have to gather their own resources.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We have 211 in many, many communities. Why don't we use them?
You're speaking to Gerry's heart, what I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
Because we're all very concerned about, and Gerry, were you aware that Liza is dealing directly with the 211 here?
No, I wasn't. Just that little bit of communications from this morning on Slack.
Yeah. Well, 211, did you lose your house in the,
So yes, I was not living in my house, but I did have a house burned down, and Hidden Valley off of Shenate and above Sleepy Hollow, about a block. But I'm also I'm housed at the Human Services Department at Paulin Drive at the county center, and that's where 211 has been for the last 6 years. So I'm very, very familiar with what happened with 211, and I also know why, but I might be wrong.
Well, you have your theories as to why. I have my theories as to why, and I would love to compare notes with you.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you know that it's going to United Way?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've now had, I don't think their draft business plan has been made public yet.
Mm-hmm.
I got a chance to read it and comment extensively on it. And the side of me that gets outraged really easily, which I try to keep under control, is at this moment quite outraged because they took my comments, which were on a Google Doc, and
Claim credit.
about 25 or 30 of them, and most of them are marked as resolved without talking to me, because you can't write it all out. And I have no idea what the resolution was, whether they said, yeah, we'll deal with that, or whether they said, screw you, and just erased it.
Yeah, and see, that's where we have a big conversation to have, because my main shtick is transparency. Besides saving the world, I also I think that we save the world by being truly transparent,
Yes.
and genuinely transparent. So again, this is a very good conversation to begin.
Okay, so we won't get through the demo if we do this.
Right.
Okay, so list resources. So we're in agreement that resources list, since we're both oriented towards resources and resource accessibility. The thing that confounds the 211 people is that the resource refresh in a disaster needs to be at most 3 hours during the emergency period, because we need to know volunteers are needed at this shelter now. Oops, close the tap. We don't need any more for the next 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now open the tap, now close the tap. And my strategy for dealing with this, which didn't work, but that was just the first time. Second time, I've tried it twice now, is I think that we need to go back. I'm going to go back to the, main page. We still have 2,600 volunteers in this volunteer database. And what we didn't know, I didn't start this, and during the Sonoma fires, the clique that did start it didn't want to listen to me. But what I think we need to do is mine this volunteer list and make teams of 3 people whose only job is to be, we need of that team. Oh, you can't see me. I'm counting on my.
Yeah, we can. No, we can see you off on the right.
One of those people needs to be embedded in each agency. They need to be a volunteer. They need to be new staff, because the agencies are overwhelmed in an emergency. One of those volunteers needs to be the person who can be quite remote and is responsible for doing the updates. The embedded person gets the updates. They're there. They've got their finger on the pulse of what's going on with the agency, and they can pass the information on to the person who can actually craft the message that gets posted, so that this community updates is happening. And the third one is relief for the other 2, because somebody's going to break down. Mm-hmm. But every participating agency over on this side needs to have that team of information update team, and it can't be their regular staff. And there are lots of issues of trust among when you say, well, I'll get you some volunteers, and they say, no, volunteers are more trouble than they're worth.
Yep.
So in the preparatory phase, we have to build those teams. Doesn't matter whether it's us or 211 or anybody else. That's we're in the information age, and we don't know how to manage it. More Liza philosophy. So find a resource is, when we started using this for SonomaCounty.recovers.org, they pretty much ignored the find a resource and focused on these top 3. And it was very successful, but not as successful as it could have been had we also been able to handle the resource aspect. So I think we're all aligned on that. Are there more questions about find a resource?
I've been making notes about it.
Okay. The whole resource stuff is itself a 20-person agency problem that we need to deal with.
And it seems to me, if we talk about centralized information, 211 is the nexus, because it's branded as the place to go, whatever good or bad or anything that's happening now, it's still already branded for that purpose.
Yep, I agree completely. So let's click on I have a need. And I have a need. You have to register on the site. So let's register. Describe your need.
Housing. I just got burned out at Journey's End.
Housing.
Yeah. Great example.
Well, just lost my trailer at Journey's End. And I'm going to put in parentheses, this is a test message. No need to respond. Just in case somebody else sees it. Don't include contact information here. All right, labels, housing. Now, one of the problems here is the separator because if you write here, I need housing.
Yeah.
You get I and need. Okay. Now, here are some of the other things that are suggested. So let's also add here, we say, oh, okay, I need debris removal. This is the way you do I need housing is anyway, that's interface shortcomings and comes from this being done 8 years ago. So let's go. Is it clear that we need to go on next?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll go to next. What is your need? Where is your need?
3521. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, 25.
3521 Brookdale Drive.
3521. BROOKDL. Santa Rosa?
Santa Rosa, 04.
State CA. Shouldn't need that. We can do it from the 95.
404.
95404. Country. That should be default.
Mm-hmm.
After all, they know where we're coming from. How may we contact you?
Go ahead and use mine if you want to. So Gerry Londe-Berg.
Gerry Londe
dash BERG.
Lowercase or uppercase?
Uppercase B.
Okay, contact phone.
707-569-4280.
Okay, contact phone type.
Cell.
Mobile. Contact email.
Let's do Sonoma Buzz. SONOMA BUZZ @gmail.com.
Gee, my searching for the right people to be talking to worked last week. I'm feeling successful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Liza,
Thank you, Teddie.
Since you're recording, I want to make one more suggestion for this screen in that how can we contact you object.
Yeah.
That you have a notes thing that said other information about Best Way, because like if it's a homeless person, for instance, they're going to want to put something like at the corner of Brookwood and Ford.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Submit resources.
Esri can figure that stuff out, BTW.
Yeah. We received your request for resources. We've sent you an email confirmation. Here are your labels, which showed up I need housing, but housing is at least there. Community is Sonoma County. Track your requests, bookmark this page. What's next? I actually haven't done this in 2 years, so this is good review for me. The organizer will contact you by phone. This meeting has been upgraded by the host.
A gift. I'm running. We've removed the 40-minute time limit. Oh, thank you, Zoom. Great. I don't even know what that means, but whatever.
Your submitted contact information. To protect your privacy, it's not displayed here. Can I request more resources? Yes, you can request help. I'm curious about what that does. I don't even know. What can I do in the meantime? Volunteer, donate, find resources, tell others about recovers. And what I need to share with you guys is that City Pride or City Plus, which is an organization that's selling websites to cities. It's using the URL for individual cities that contact with them or counties, SonomaCountyRecovers.org, which means there's one dot different. And so that means that when you make a message like tell others about Recovers, it's ineffective because there are so many very close names out there that
Right.
most people will not be able to
Find
the right one. And we have had major confusions because of the difference of this one dot between what is
Oh yeah, of course.
the city. And I haven't gotten back to the organization that's selling that URL and asking them please not to do it. I don't think it would work anyway, but that's my pessimism. Okay, other questions on this screen?
Well, I think that the solution to that problem is some sort of an explanation on that page. Is if this is a unique issue, or if you can identify that there's also this other entity that's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
That one is the government one. This is the public sector community integration one. Together we have a solution. Blah.
Yeah. Great. All of those things we can address. I'm really excited at the potential of having an actual team. Because Morgan, who is the CEO of the underlying nonprofit, is a baby professor at Stanford. And
is a what?
A baby professor. She's in her first year as a
okay.
As a professor at Stanford in because she studies fluid dynamics in storms, and so I'm not even I'll remember what department she's in. Anyway, that's a 200% job, and running this is she's devoted and committed to it, but she really needs our help. And so I've been holding up one side of the sheet that she's sitting on, and we need more people here. So thank you guys. Are we ready to go? Move on. This green bar needs to go too. It covers up other things you want.
Teddie, remind me later, and Lisa, to talk more about Stanford and some private information about contacts at Stanford.
Okay.
And Gerry, I want to do that because I still have a card from the Impact Hub. A lady at Stanford that I told I'd call this summer. So we need to round that all up.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And if I turn the recording off so that we can talk, I can't. Probably it'll start a new recording.
Correct. So let's just hold it where we are.
Put that on hold. Okay. Are we ready to go back? And so let's see. How do we go back from here? Okay, this footer is on all the pages. Benefits is not something that we want at this stage. I would redesign that. And also, well, follow us might be, I don't know about that. Support gets you to Morgan, basically. And one person can't do the support. If this platform really takes off, one person can't do the support. So that's another big deal. I don't join mailing lists because I get too much mail. But some people do. And one of the problems with this contact us support, I'll just click on that, is it goes to recovers.org. It doesn't go to sonomacounty.recovers. So
similar to how the 211 is going to be operating shortly.
Yeah, well, these are all issues that we need to get better at user-centered design.
Yep.
So I'm going to go back from that, and then I'm going to go. So what I was looking for here was, how do I get back to that landing page for sonomacounty.recovers.org? And the navigation isn't as we can do better on navigation when we do the new one. Maybe. No, see, it should be obvious how to get back to that. And it's not, so I'm going to just go back. And there we go. I'm a sophisticated user. If I wasn't, this would be even harder. And I know lots of people for whom it's hard.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
then, a lot of them are going to be in panic mode too when they come here.
Yeah. Well, ideally, we're not in panic mode now.
Right.
And so we need to make it work. Now's the time to make it work for non-panic mode.
Yeah.
And there are several people that have tried to start. I mean, it's just not working well. It works. Sonoma County, we are the largest users that they've ever had.
Okay.
And the longest active, and that's because I won't let go. And this kind of a facility and service should not be dependent on one person's bulldog personality. I'm scratching the dot on my screen.
So a thought that I want to capture is, as you're looking at that main page and we're in the middle of a disaster, if somebody wants to volunteer to share their home, like what happened with Share Sonoma County, she created Share Fire, and she got, hundreds and hundreds of volunteers to offer their home. So from pretty close to the top of this webpage, you would want to prompt those people to go directly to that place. So
that's all done
Share
in the
Sonoma
back end.
County or Share Disaster, or however we want to do that, but we need a way for people to volunteer to share their living space.
They can do that on the volunteer page, and I'll show you the results of it.
Okay.
The sign up is the same as the sign up we just went through. And what I didn't show you in that sign up is there is a waiver, which is a release of information to the agency.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's been, Morgan's father's a lawyer, so that ROI is pretty carefully crafted.
Yeah, and that conversation on Slack that we started this morning, Lisa, was that's also a much bigger conversation, and I have some background in that as well.
So I'm going to sign in here, and there is a whole other conversation about who gets access to the back end, because what you'll see is that I don't want to create another organization. That's a bug. It shouldn't do that.
There we go.
Okay. I'm not sure how I got here. Let me go. All right, see, I know how to work these drop downs well, because I've been doing it for 2 years. And I know immediately to get where I want to go. She says, hoping, should be here. Okay, that's what I wanted to be at. And I want to go to, this takes me to the back end, now that I'm signed, now that I've logged in. And you'll see how the back end works. In order, right now, in order to protect people's privacy, you have to be working through one of those participating agencies in order to see the data. So you can't go directly from I have a housing need to I have a house. So if I sign, and I did sign up, here I'll go to the back end now. I clicked on community organizing. So we'll get there if you can. It'll be a circuitous route, but we'll get to the answer to that question. Okay. Is that okay, Gerry?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So here's the dashboard, which is they stole from somewhere. This thing was built at a Code for America meetup, I think. So we have 934 needs. 345 of them have either been met or have gone away. So this is a little bit misleading. We still have, from 2 years ago, all these unmet needs. Now, what that means is the database hasn't been updated. It doesn't mean that there are still 589 people who want what they posted 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, these are shortcomings. Let's just look at what's on this page. You can see we have 2,800 volunteers. Of course, most of them have gone away as well, because within 3 months we had 3,000 volunteers, close to 3,000, 2,958. So what this tells me is that we have a huge untapped resource. It's just like the cars and drivers that Uber has tapped into. There's tremendous wealth out here and no platform for using it. Same thing with donations. Although lots and lots of donations got made directly, and donations are physical donations for the most part. Some service donations, but also think of goods and services, mostly goods. And again, the database didn't get updated when a donation got taken up. The person that had logged a donation did not go back and say, okay, this one's no longer available. From this page, you can get to posting an update, I think is a community update. I'm going to click it just to make sure. Yeah, this is the community updates, and user interface wise, that should be orange because that's the, actually it doesn't even have its own color to color code that this goes to community update. I'm a real, I really care about vocabulary because that is the navigation hint that we use. And most people are not anywhere near as rigorous about that. So for me, post and update is not the same as post community update. And it makes the site harder to use. Message center is entirely in the control of the back end, but you can send mass mailings, mass emailings to, if you're a user in the back end, to all of the people who posted needs, all of the donors, all of the volunteers, all of the agencies, and some subsets. I don't want to go, that's for a more detailed demo. And then this is post a resource. And that gets you on that find a resource page. But again, find a resource is an orange button. This one is blue. Why didn't they make it orange so that our unconscious brains would say, oh, this is connected to that. Community settings, this is these featured image and slideshow are pictures, volunteer agreements. I don't even know what that is. Documents, agencies can post whatever documents they want. We didn't use it at all in this. And general information is what I think general information will, yeah. This is how you edit that left-hand column on the main page. And so basically I've done all the recent editing on that. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, subscribe to this by email. So you get these messages in your email. This is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the most recent activity on the site. And as you can see, I've done most of the activity. There's no way, okay, and here's the need we just posted. So let's go look at that. There's no way I can do this. Every site needs a team of at least 10 people.
Yeah, I can see that.
And 40 people if there's an active emergency going on.
And you know what, Liza? Some of the things that are on here might not require as much human resource if like the model is redefined.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm critiquing the existing platform because that's what I've worked with in the past.
Yeah.
So I have lots of complaints, but also because I have every intention of working on recovers.org 2.0, and that's a lot of the information for how to improve the site. So you can see that I posted, because I'm watching the buzz, to use your word, Gerry. When I see stuff that I think might be interesting to the few people who are still looking at this site, I post it in the community updates. That should be done by the organization that is offering the whatever the activity is. It shouldn't be.
So are you Are you monitoring either next door or the Board of Supervisors members, like fire recovery groups?
I can't. I don't have the bandwidth to do it.
So, and they're not making these entries to maintain the information.
There are basically no other participants on the site but me at this point.
Okay.
So in that sense, it's a total failure. In the sense of, has it been useful and did we help a lot of people? Great success. Right next to the fire, even more success, wonderful success, and going out for about 3 months. By now, it's a failed site, but it's a good template.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to go on to looking at what happens when you post a need?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you can either get to that by the recent activity connection or the view needs connection. And it doesn't matter which, it does matter. It gets you, I'll do the view needs because that shows you all the needs. And here's the stream in chronological order, last in, first out. So here's the one we just posted. This is the actual record. This is just the headers for all the records. Because this gives your number and your email, this becomes confidential information. And we can't give access. Anybody that has access to this back end has been vetted. They're going through an agency. Morgan vets the agencies and that are allowed to get access to the back end. And then each agency is supposed to vet their personnel who get logins. That's the way it's supposed to work. And that's supposed to protect privacy. It was much too much for any of the agencies to do. So we have to build the infrastructure and get buy-in during the Slack periods, different use of Slack.
Yeah.
Before, in order for this to work, which is, and so for example, 211 never used this. I and the other folks who were active were the human link to 211. And there were a couple of weeks when overwhelm was at its height, when we were sending people to 211 and 211 was sending people to us, the same people. That was a disaster in itself. And I really want to make sure we don't do that again. Here's somebody 7 days ago posted, we know what's on this one. Well, let's go to this one. So the way an individual record works, it gives the location. As a volunteer, I was appalled because I didn't realize it was going to give a map to my house.
Yeah.
I was appalled at that, and because my agency operates out of my home, and I immediately took my agency address out when I discovered this off it because it's a bad design, especially in Guerneville where we are overwhelmed with homeless, some of whom are not in their full minds. I don't want my address as a resource out there. So locking the need, the idea for locking the need, okay, there's a record number and you can search by record number. I don't know whether that's how useful that is because people usually work by names, not numbers. It might be useful in the future as we try to upgrade the privacy features of the site. Locking the need, the idea was because everybody, all of the people from all of the participating agencies who are using this site can see all of the requests. The idea was if you are a housing agency, like your Catholic Charities Housing, and you decide to take on this request, You don't want 7 other social workers, triage people, communicating with this person and trying to fulfill their need. You want
Right.
to take that person on as your client and manage it.
And then among the agencies, you could segment that geographically so the agencies know, I'm going to pick up Guerneville, or some other agency, I'm going to pick up Santa Rosa. There would be criteria for taking on those needs unless the resolution was already available. So if I already have the RV to give to the person who's made a request for an RV, and it's outside my geographic area, I could still lock the need and identify that we've provided the RV.
You got it. You got it. Well, people did not, 2 things happened. One is because we had a lot of people who were sort of ad hoc volunteers. There were a couple of agencies that just anybody who showed up could get access to this database.
Yeah, so you don't want that.
I want to volunteer. Okay. And I tested that by bringing in somebody who said they wanted to volunteer, who I did not trust. And somebody else put her on gave her access to the site. I brought her in for training. They gave her access to the site. They never monitored it, and they never took her off. So this has got there's a lot of leaks.
Which agency was that?
That did it.
Mm-hmm.
The people that set this site up were the rebels. This site was not set up by either a government department or
reputable
it was
nonprofit.
set up by a legitimate nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Schoolbox project. Belle Sweeney knew about recovers.org and turned some of her friends onto the site, stayed with it for about a month and a half, and then dropped out. And I may have met Belle once or twice, but I don't know her. And what I know is the work she's doing through the Schoolbox project is wonderful. And so I have to be really careful about the way that I criticize.
There she is.
Oh, there you are.
Okay,
We found you again. You were frozen there for a minute.
Yeah.
The reception here is horrible. And I've been having major problems. Okay, we're still recording. I've been having major problems with connectivity, so it may happen again. How shall I go back?
You're gonna need to go at the bottom and reshare your view.
Okay, share basic advanced. Click on that, share. All right.
We're back. Yeah.
Good.
Belle Sweeney, the Schoolbox project, initiated this. The Schoolbox project is a legitimate nonprofit, but there were a group of about 10 people who ended up calling themselves the launch team, and who had actually not met before the fire hit. And they have my undying admiration for organizing themselves in about 8 hours, getting the site up and running. And I suspect that somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million worth of resource was moved to people who needed it by this team. So and it could have been 2 million. I don't know, because we didn't track it, because we were what I call wildcatters, and we just did it. Now that things have quieted down, we have to look at the process that we went through and the amount of lack of privacy, violation of privacy rules, and is appalling.
Yeah, and it's definitely a conversation worth having. I was in the Emergency Operations Center for the first 2 days, maybe 3 days, and then I was at every one of the local sites except for Annalee. I never went out to Sebastopol or to Finley, but I was at all the other sites. So I have a fairly good sense of what happened during those moments on the inside of the county.
Yeah.
But also, like if you talk to me about ROC now and the status of ROC, that's another parallel process that spent a lot of money that I don't have clear accountability of.
Okay, well, I work closely with Holly Harris, who directs the ROC Walk-In Center resource.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Peacock. Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's not put this on the.
Let's not. We don't have to go there, but that's further conversations.
Okay, further conversation. There's a lot of work to be done on that. And with respect to this, though, that's relevant to recovers.org, is it was clear to me that the Wildcatters were hostile to government and large agencies. It was like, don't give to the Red Cross, they're the enemy. And my take on it was, we have to liaison with the large agencies in order to be effective long term. So I was not a member of an official member of the launch committee. I just wouldn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed in touch and just let them do their thing without being as overtly critical as I felt. Helped whenever I could, and waited until they dropped the ball, and then I was there to catch it. And so there are a few people, the last stragglers are willing to say, oh, thank you, Liza, for doing that. And the rest of them don't know or care. But that's an artifact of what happens in an emergency, is a bunch of bleeding hearts jump up and say they're going to help. And they do help for a while if you can get them organized enough.
That's the problem.
Yep.
Or organized at all.
Well, the launch committee did it.
Really?
And as I said, I will forever appreciate the skill that they did it with. Amber Four was the lead person on it. I happen to have known Amber for about 10 years. I know she's crazy as a coot and very capable until she burns herself out, which is what I knew would happen. And I told her on the first day that this was open that if she did it the way she was doing it, she wouldn't last. And she said, oh, I have to do it this way. And I was right. She was right. She did it and was very effective for the time that she was there. She's now working, she works for, sorry, senior noun's gone. And she's working largely in Brazil at the moment. Since she's fluent in Portuguese, that works just fine. But it's a whole nother story about how I ended up working with Amber. So just to go back to this need, I can comment. So I can say, here's a comment. From Liza. So I put that comment in and I click to post it and the comment shows up.
But so if you have a solution, then you would just email the requester,
Yes.
and then that also shows up.
So I'll go, hi, Gerry.
Call Share Sonoma County. They'll take care of you.
Yeah.
We still have Share Fire. We have a variety of resources that we're still serving those particular people.
Okay. So new resource. I have no idea why Global Housing Assistance Coalition is showing up as a resource. Let's look. And
they might have listed themselves as California. That's the whole state.
Well, from my perspective, that's a bug, because when we say see more, we don't see more.
Exactly.
So,
and we're sending them to somebody who's not going to help them because they're not here.
Yeah. Okay. So the resource locations new tab is a new feature that was added while we were within the last 2 years, and it clearly is not working. So we need to investigate that.
All right.
Anyway, so all of our correspondence, you can write back. Are you online? Do you want to write back to this? Will show up, but it's only visible to the authorized back-end users. It's not visible to the public posters. So what's supposed to happen at this point? Well, let's go to another one. I'm going to back up. See, in this green, my email was successfully sent is intrusive. I'm going to go back to the needs list because I'm not sure that I picked up this one, which is 7 days old. So I'm going to click on that and we can work this one. Okay, Suzette Finch. Not met. She needs car repair, housing, and nobody talked with her yet. All right. What I'm going to do, and this is a workaround, is there are some scammers out there who are asking for help everywhere, have gotten help, and some people were selling what they got. Some people were addicts. But I'm going to go back to needs and search for Suzette Finch to see if she has posted before. So I can go up here and click on needs and it'll take me back to the needs description and paste in Suzette Finch and see if I can find anything else from here.
Yeah. And your response to me did not show up.
Yet.
To Sonoma Buzz. Yeah.
Okay. Which may mean just that things are taking a long time.
Okay.
So here's the needs database screened by sorted for Suzette Finch. So she's now asking for car repair and housing. She said we lost everything. There was one comment. Then she said, I wanted to let you know we're fire victims. That was a year ago. This was 10 months ago. We're in dire need of assistance. Okay, so what we can also see from this is that that all of these other needs are marked as met. Now, because there's no way, let's look and see if any of these comments. Each of these is a separate record in the database, and the only way to connect them is what I just did. It's not a good solution, but
No.
And if we look at what we need to know is whether Suzette is still legitimate or not. So if I look at this comments for this request, and it won't show us the other one, there were fire victims. We have a donor who, this was from Karen, who was the volunteer. And I'm not sure which agency. I think Karen was working through the School Blocks project. And I know that School Blocks did not monitor their volunteers. Oh no, it's Karen Colson from Loop Center. It was me. Mea culpa. Anyway, so I don't know. I haven't heard from Karen in a long time. But she wasn't one of the sort of in crowd, the in clique. So I don't know whether she knew enough to check out whether Suzette was a problem person or just a person who was using the site entirely properly. Let me go back and look at the most recent met need, see what the comment was. That was from Stacy. Okay, Stacy is one of the in-group. Stacy is the only other person who is still working the site with me. but she works through the Church of the Incarnation. And so she knows that Suzette's been helped a whole lot. And I believe that Suzette was one of the people that got a FEMA trailer. But all of this sort of case management information is not available to us. And although the Rock Center, I've been working closely enough with the Rock Center, so they're willing to train me, we haven't gotten around to it yet. So I can't get information on Suzette and vet her. This is a problem. And neither could, for example, she's in Santa Rosa, but if they took a message from somebody in Guerneville who had relocated to Guerneville, and our local service agency is West County Community Services,
Yeah.
they don't play well with Rock. So even last week,
Oh, I hate to hear that. I'm sorry.
I know it's the things we hate to hear that we need to talk about. So yeah, I hate to hear that.
I actually had just put into Trello, I have a Trello card called How Might We Tests, coming off of user-centered design.
Yeah.
And when Gerry was talking about transparency, I put in a How Might We statement that said to solve, right? How might we encourage people to not be afraid of transparency?
It's much deeper than that.
I know.
Okay. Part of the reason they're afraid of transparency is because they do not understand their legal ramifications. And it's like, there's plenty of lawyers around. It's not going to be difficult. I mean, during the flood, I went and volunteered at the LAC in Guerneville. And I know that everybody came in, signed a release of information. Somehow that data did not get recorded adequately.
God.
You mean the releases of information didn't get documented?
I mean, I handed pieces of paper to people and said, before we can help you, is it okay with you if we share your information with the other helping agencies? They said yes, and we said, okay, then fill out this form, which they did. And I looked at whoever was running the LAC and said, where do I put this form? And they said, here in this pile. Well, I'm still getting pushback that, no, we can't share information between West County Community Services and Rock. Well, West County Community Services was next door physically to the LAC. They were participating. People were walking into both places. It's very rare that people won't sign a release of information. They want the help. But the agencies are screwing up.
Well, it is, I could drag you both into hours of conversation, but the problem up here that is unique to other counties that I work in is that there's no capacity around to help these agencies understand that problem.
We're going to solve that.
Yeah.
It will stay over my dead body. I hope I don't have a heart attack or a stroke right away. I'm 74, Gerry.
Okay.
So I'm aware that I'm in that zone where I could drop dead anytime from internal failures.
But you can still work on the external failures.
Yeah, right. Until something slays me, literally, I'll be doing this. I'm feeling like we've done a pretty comprehensive demo.
You.
What do you guys feel?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Liza, this is very interesting to me for a million different reasons that I don't want to go. I have a meeting starting in about 10, but
yeah.
One thing that comes to mind is that with your contact at Stanford, it might be interesting to see if the D School would take this project on. And that's the design school part of Stanford.
We still have one gym left at the D School.
One JYM or one JIM?
JIM. James, God, what's his last name?
And he goes to the D School?
He started, there were two guys named Jim who started the D School.
Really?
Yeah, I'm old.
I think this would be remarkable. Coding is one thing, and the UX, as you know, is quite different. And man, if the D School could take this on as a project to draft like the spec, to draft a spec, you know what I'm saying, with all the workflows and use cases and all that kind of thing, and then just have coders do it, that would be amazing.
Oh, it would.
Really?
If it could happen. Let me tell you that I spent 15 years as a graduate student at Stanford, and in the School of Education. And Stanford is a wonderful resource. And Stanford is an agency organization that has one of the biggest egos in the world.
Yeah.
If you hand a project to Stanford, you may get nothing back.
Yeah, I know, but it would be, you know, it would just be worth an inquiry, or like, I don't know,
Absolutely.
you know.
I
mean, that's kind of where I'm going with my stuff is I'm just, and funny enough, I learned it from a client who had the gall to call his wine club members about their declined card on New Year's Eve. It's like, all you can do is try.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why I'm reaching out to IDEO and Acumen and places like that. I mean, you know, they've got interns and they've got, you know, students that need the practical experience. I think the only thing you'd want to make sure of is that you know, you have the IP straightened out, right? Like, so you have the rights and nobody takes off with the idea. And
I'm delighted if people take off with the idea. It's just that if they take off with the idea and they come back with a naive implementation, and then they won't come back to me, who have, maybe I'm misguided, but I have enough ego to think that I have some contribution to make to this.
Right. And so, I mean, you just, whatever matters to you, you'd want to make sure those protections were nailed down.
Well, I can tell you that you cannot be sure at Stanford, but
yeah,
that doesn't, I'm not saying let's not do it. I'm saying,
or IDEO.
with our eyes open and know that this is an organization which has a reputation for being both fantastic, world-class, doing wonderful work, and also has a reputation on the inside of being uncooperative, uncollaborative, and stealing people's ideas.
And you're complaining about government. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I liked Liza.
You're describing government.
Without even really knowing much about her, it was like, oh yeah, we agree on that.
Yeah. So what are our next steps as we're wrapping up?
And you've been able to stay the whole time. Congratulations.
I have. I'm watching my board here.
Yeah, good. Okay. I think we need to, let's close out the recording. How do I do that? I don't have the main screen. Let me stop sharing. You guys are you now see the raw material?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we are.
Good.
Stop recording. I don't know.